Why do consumers think plant-based meats are healthy? Find out the details here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. You gotta go follow me though right here. I am on Instagram. Jimmy Rants is the username over on Instagram, so go check me out over there, you guys. We go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we try to have a great time, wide variety of topics about health, culture, mindset, psychology, all across the board. We like to keep it interesting here on Jimmy Rants. And we also simulcast on 3 different formats. We've got Twitch over here, Facebook over here, YouTube over here. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. If you missed a live, you can watch it on replay over on the IGTV at the Jimmy Rants Instagram page. We also have the replay available on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. And then finally, we have all of the episodes housed for you at the official website for this show. It is JimmyRants.com. And once you're there, you can see all of the episodes, past and present, that we do here on Jimmy Rants. Okay, you guys, I've got quite the topic to talk about with you today, and I've talked about ancillarily about this topic for a little while now. And we all know the plant-based burgers and the meat alternative kind of companies out there are out in full force. And I've been telling you all about them for many years, that a lot of the millionaire and billionaire investors have decided to pour their money into making fake meat. And I mean, these are big time players when it comes to investments. And most of those guys are hot and heavy into the vegan diet. So it doesn't, I mean, it makes total sense why they would be doing this. But the problem is when they have put it out there to the consumer, most consumers have kind of went meh to some of these plant-based burgers. And on Jimmy Rants, I want to say it was like April or May last year, it was sometime in the middle of the year last year, I decided to try the Beyond Meat burger live on camera for Jimmy Rants. And I did that last year. You can go look it up over at JimmyRants.com or on YouTube. You'll find it. If you type in Jimmy Rants Beyond Meat, you will find the video over on YouTube. And it was hilarious because I did not enjoy smelling it in the raw. So when you pull it out of the package, it's got this, oh my gosh, pungent smell, unlike anything I'd ever smelled of some food before that I actually was going to eat. If I had smelled that not knowing that's what it was supposed to smell like, I would have thought it was spoiled. That's how disgusting it smelled. But then I cooked it up and it cooked like a burger. It looked like a burger, and it actually tasted mouthfeel, chew texture, flavor, everything like a burger. And that's been their modus operandi all along. They wanted, in the eyes of the consumer, to give them a product that would mimic the effects of meat without it being meat. And of course, they've been laying the groundwork for this for many years, whether you realize this or not. There's a lot of research that has been put out there that's totally bogus research that is anti-meat. And so the whole red meat leads to cancer, eating meat will increase your risk of heart disease, on down the line. And we've heard those things for many years. And then along comes these meat alternatives, these plant-based burgers and all kinds of things. And I read from a story on last week's Jimmy Rants Ask Me Anything, where now some of these plant-based type of food companies don't want you to give plant-based or fake or other alternative names for what they sell. They just want you to call it meat. Guys, I think this is the biggest psyop we have ever had thrust upon us within the nutritional health world, is the whole idea of pushing a plant-based burger and plant-based meats as meat. And so in their eyes, they have vilified the real thing, which is a real whole food, by the way. Most of the time when someone has a hamburger, it's one ingredient. It's beef. When you have chicken, it's one ingredient. It's chicken. When you have bacon, you know, it's a few extra ingredients to flavor it and things like that and to cure it and blah, blah, blah. But the main thing is it's pork. And so along come all these plant-based burgers. And oh my gosh, what a great alternative to that horrible meat we've heard about for years. Finally, we get to enjoy all the things we like about meat without it being meat, and I can have it safely and feel good about having this because it's plant-based and therefore that makes it healthy. Do you see the psychological manipulation they have used? They have so vilified a real whole food. They have so glorified a crap storm out of you don't know, want to know. That's what a lot of these plant-based meat products are. That Beyond Beef burger that I put in my mouth last year to taste. 29 different ingredients. And if you guys don't believe me, just do a search for Beyond Beef ingredients or plant-based burger, plant-based meat ingredients. And look what they put in this stuff to make it mimic the mouthfeel, the flavor, the taste of meat. It's disgusting, and yet that's what's being pushed on people is a, quote, better, healthier option than real meat. And in fact, when I was promoting this Jimmy Rants today, I put it out there across Living Low Carb Man and Jimmy Rants in all the different places. And on my Living Low Carb Man page, I had a vegan come challenge me. He's like, well, the plant-based burgers are far better than those highly processed with hundreds of ingredients meat. And I'm thinking, dude, what are you talking about? Because the last time I checked, a hamburger is one ingredient, maybe two. It's beef and maybe beef and salt. That's it. There's no filler ingredients. There's no things to make it taste a certain way or have the mouth feel a certain way. It's beef. And he was like, well, you advocate for fast food, and fast food has millions of ingredients. And I'm thinking again, dude, nobody's talking about fast food. We're talking about burgers. And in a burger, it's beef. That's it. In a plant-based burger, I don't even like to call it burger. I don't even like to call it meat because I think you're playing their game if you keep reinforcing what they are is a burger or meat. I think they're a plant-based fake meat alternative is what they are. But this person just insisted, and of course they're a vegan, so I didn't expect anything less. But the point was that they have done everything they can to make these plant-based burgers seem like they're better than they are. So I have a story that gets into some of the psychology about why people think these things are so great. Because there are people who are buying these plant-based burgers for the sole reason that they think they are a better option than the real McCoy, which seems absurd at face value. But when you think about it from the standpoint of they've been told for years that real meat is unhealthy, they've been told that it causes all these issues, it's a big problem, and then along comes an alternative that looks and tastes and smells and everything just like a burger, you can see how alluring that would be to the public. All right, let's get into this article. It is published on the website foodnavigator.com. That's a popular website for food trends and what's happening in the world of food. And if you're just joining us, yes, the plant-based meat products are out there in full force. We see them all the time. And they are indeed enjoying quite the health halo right now because there's a lot of positive thinking around these things. And this article I'm about to read from foodnavigator.com gets into the psychology about why people think these things are better. All right, headline. Consumers associate plant-based with the clean label. There is a disconnect between the perception versus the reality. Boy, is that right. Demand for plant-based products is now fast rising. In the UK, for instance, sales from Kantar covering the lockdown period shows that meat alternative sales are up 25%. And free from milks, meaning not made with cow milk, are up 28% year to year. A survey from the Vegan Society found 21% of people reporting cutting down on their meat consumption during the coronavirus lockdown. So 21%, over 1 in 5 people have cut down on their meat consumption. I wonder if it was purposeful. Because what would be the purpose of cutting down on your meat consumption other than maybe you started reading some vegan websites and they convinced you that you're unhealthy because of eating meat? And so therefore, because people have tried to be healthier to boost their immunity in case they get this virus, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the reasoning would be for cutting down meat consumption in the midst of the lockdown, but 21%, that's a significant portion. Concerns over animal welfare, that's the big one that's always been out there. Oh, the poor little animals, we can't eat Bambi, you know, that kind of thing. And a perceived health halo, meaning that people see these products, these plant-based meat products, as healthy, are two of the biggest drivers behind this movement becoming more popular. But plant-based is colliding with another food sector that is currently a mega trend, and that's the whole clean label. So when you think of a clean food, what do you think of? You think of no processing, no hidden ingredients, no fillers and things like that, right? And so these plant-based burgers are running smack dab into the clean label. How many people look at the plant-based burgers and they automatically think, oh my gosh, wow, what a clean food, because it looks like a burger patty on the outside. And so when people have that imagery of, oh wow, look how clean it is, there's no junk in there, not realizing all the junk they put in this stuff, yeah, it gets really squirrely really fast. Meat and dairy analogs are facing increased scrutiny over their nutritional credentials and the ultra-processed nature of many of these analog products necessary to deliver the taste and texture that the consumer expects, and it's currently being placed under the microscope. So they're kind of pointing and shining a bright light on all of these meat and dairy alternatives now, because the things it takes for them to give the familiar taste and flavor and everything that people are used to when it comes to these plant-based burgers, when it comes to these milk alternatives, they need it to taste like the real thing or people aren't going to buy into it. But the things it takes to get there are cutting corners when it comes to the whole idea of it being a clean food. And you guys have seen that. Some of the milk alternatives, let's go to almond milk, for example. Some of the things that they do to things like almond milk is they add in thickeners like carrageenan into the almond milk and other kind of things that would make it taste and feel in the mouth like you're having real cream, which is where cow's milk comes from. And that can be problematic. The problem is most consumers aren't turning it over to look at all those ingredients, because if they did, they would be in for the shock of their life. And if you're just joining us, yes, we are talking about these highly processed plant-based meat products that are out there. I'm reading from a story in foodnavigator.com all about why these have gotten a health halo from consumers, and it's because their perception of these products is a far cry from what the reality is. And the reality is it's a bunch of junk. A bunch of crap they put in this stuff. It's ingredients that are anything but clean, and yet that's the way that they're being perceived by the general public. So Ankur Gupta, the head of the Life Sciences and Chemistry Department at SBU, he says, Plant-based are generally perceived as nutritious or healthy, but that is not always the case in these products that they make. Often they are ultra-processed and they need additional ingredients to mimic the taste and texture of meat and dairy. And that's what I was just talking about. They have to add things to these burgers. Like, I remember when I started reading off the list of the burger ingredients in the Beyond Beef burgers, Beyond Meat burgers. And again, if you missed that Jimmy Rants last year, go look it up over on YouTube. Jimmy Rants, Beyond Meat. You'll find me eating it on the air. I actually cook it up in front of everybody, eat it on the air, and give you my feedback. But I remember reading the ingredients on the air, and I mean, it's all kind of stuff, and you're thinking, why do they have to put that in there? And they don't pay attention, by the way, to the macronutrients. They don't give one care in the world that a lot of you eat meat, for example, because you're trying to be carbohydrate free. And so if they're making a burger that's supposed to be plant-based, and yet it has 25 grams of carbohydrate, that's a far different, even from a macronutrient perspective, far different thing than a real burger. Back to the story. However, consumers these days are more conscious about product labeling and the type and number of ingredients used. Well, that's true, more conscious, but I don't think enough people are conscious enough. Because if they were, why would this have a market at all? Like, think about that, you guys. And I want you to really think heavily about most of the people that are consuming these kinds of products. They're not hardcore vegans. Hardcore vegans don't touch this stuff. This is a gateway into veganism. Let's call this what it is. These plant-based burgers, plant-based meats, they're totally a way to try to get a buy-in factor from people who would not be vegan otherwise. Okay? So that's how they get people in. They lure you in with, well, I know you love meat, so here is a plant-based alternative to that burger that's that dastardly one ingredient real whole food burger. Ugh. No, we want to give you a 29 ingredient chemical crapstorm burger, and you're going to like it. And that's where we are. And that's how they kind of get in there. So people buy into it because they don't read the labels. Although I am hopeful that's changing. All right, so let's get into this whole perception versus reality when it comes to these plant-based burgers. Even as consumer concern over the clean label is on the rise, the ultra-processed nature of many plant-based alternatives flies in the face of consumer expectations around the category. And as we've been saying, people assume if it's a plant-based burger, oh, it's really clean and whole and wow, fresh ingredients and da-da-da. Not thinking it through, how do they get it to be like a burger when it's not a burger? They have to process, add chemicals, add ingredients, add this, add that you may or may not want in your body. Fresh research commissioned by Gosh Foods, a manufacturer of vegan bites, burgers, and sausages, revealed that consumers are actually quite confused about all the ingredients that are included in these plant-based products. They're confused because they don't know what they are. And they legally, these companies like this Gosh Foods, they legally have a right to use the fancy schmancy term for some of these things, which could hide what they really are. Like if you knew something was soy-based, you would want to know soy is somewhere on the label, and it isn't always. If you wanted to know if something had grains or some derivative of wheat or something in there, you wouldn't always know because they have ways of hiding those things. We know how they hide sugar in products, and it's much in the same way that they're doing it with these plant-based meat products. So the marketing manager for Gosh Foods named William Top, he said many people who eat a plant-based diet do so because of the nutritional and ethical reasoning, which is why it was so surprising to find that many consumers were absolutely confused about the ingredients in the food that they eat daily, showing a widespread lack of understanding when it comes to nutritional value. And I think other than those of us that have it on our radar screen to eat clean, to look at food in such a way that we know what's going in our body, can we be honest? Those of us in the Jimmy Rants family, we're kind of the weirdos in the world because we're the exception to the rule, knowing meticulously what we're putting in our mouth. The rest of the world, most of them don't care. They just don't. For whatever their reason, they're just not there. They just don't care. And that's the way they love to live their life. As long as it tastes good, and as long as it has this perception in people's minds that they're doing something healthy for themselves, that's all that matters. This is also the lie of the calorie hypothesis rearing its ugly head. Well, these fit within my calories. Oh, wow, they're even lower calorie than a beef burger. This must be better. Which is why I think we need to keep having the conversation move away from calories and more to quality of food, quality of the ingredients that go into foods that you consume. Because if you don't look at that and you only look at calories, then you can allow a whole lot of junk to get into your body. This survey conducted by one poll found that more than 1/3 of people think that a plant-based product is artisan, meaning handmade, as opposed to highly processed. Isn't that interesting? That just the mere fact that it's plant-based, people automatically assume, oh, it must be handmade. Somebody ought to like show them a picture of the Beyond Meat factory where they make these burgers and see if they still think it's artisan. That's more than 1/3, so that's huge. 38% believe that plant-based products are only made from things that are recognizable ingredients that you could find in your cupboard in your kitchen. I guarantee you a lot of the ingredients, if you turn it over on the back and you look at what they put in these so-called plant-based meats and burgers and chicken nuggets and all the sausages and everything, I guarantee you most of that stuff you can't find in your kitchen. It's highly processed. Some food engineer came up with, all right, we need this mouthfeel. We need a certain mouthfeel. And you know these people that were testing had the real McCoy right next to their concoction. And they're like, oh, this one's too soft. We need to make it a little bit harder. What can we put in there that would make it a little more chewy, that when you bite into it, it's got a bite to it to mimic the sauce? And that's how they came up with this. Food engineers, which means these people engineering this food are not vegan because they have to know what the real McCoy tastes like. Or if they are vegan, they're very hypocritical because they're eating the real thing to come up with these things. 4 out of 10 shoppers think that plant-based foods only have all natural ingredients. That's a shame, because with as much press as these things have gotten, you would think people would do the research. But what this is underscoring, guys, is when you condition people to believe that processed foods are normal, which if you look at all the crappy garbage when you go to the store, we obviously think processed foods are normal because they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. So why would we think anything different about consumer behavior when it comes to processed foods that are considered healthy? How many Lean Pockets did you guys buy back in the day? Remember Lean Pockets? That was the lower fat version of Hot Pockets. Why did you think they were healthier? Simply because they cut the fat, right? Did you ever look at the ingredients that they put in it? No, none of us did. Same with the Snackwell's cookies. Did you think they were healthier? Yeah, you bet you did. I did. Back in my low-fat days, I thought they were, oh, wow, they taste so good for being healthy. Not realizing that, yeah, they probably weren't that great. Yeah. And so this health halo thing cuts in a lot of directions. It looks at calories. It looks at fat. It looks at perception around plant-based diets and plant-based ingredients in general. Do you see the psychology of why vilifying meat has played such a profound impact on why there is such a thing as a plant-based meat product to begin with? Yeah, it's big. So, why are natural ingredients important to the consumer? The perceived naturalness of the plant-based sector is an important purchase motivator, according to the researchers. Of those who were polled, 68%, that's more than 2/3, had tried a plant-based food. 25% were inspired to try these products simply because of the perception that they were a more natural choice. Natural ingredients are specifically taking the plant-based community by storm, with many consumers increasingly looking for products made with natural, wholesome, and recognizable ingredients. I would challenge anyone who believes these things come from natural ingredients to turn over, before you make a purchase sight unseen, turn it over on the back, look at every single ingredient. If you don't recognize the ingredient, if you can't pronounce the ingredient, or if you couldn't go buy it at your local grocery store, look at all those ingredients. Are they available? Could you replicate this exact product if you made it at home? That is a huge one too. And the frank reality is most of this stuff is a resounding no, because it's been created in a food lab, not in a kitchen. And this is where we are. The research also uncovered a concerning lack of knowledge about common ingredients that are used to deliver the taste and texture profile in these plant-based foods. So take a listen to this, you guys. 86% of people had never heard of an emulsifier and thickening agent. Listen to this. Methyl cellulose. 86%. Almost everybody kind of went, methyl what? Methyl cellulose. It's an emulsifier thickening agent that is often put into food items to give a mouthfeel, a texture in them. 86% didn't know. Over half of the people polled, 57%, had never heard of another emulsifier and thickener. This one's a little more popular. You can actually buy this in stores, called xanthan gum. So you'll see a lot of the keto recipe developers, when they're making some kind of a recipe, they'll talk about adding in xanthan gum. I bought some xanthan gum. The problem is when you buy it, you've got to buy it in a big bag, but you only use little bits of it. So I've still got the xanthan gum that I bought last year. I still have it up in my cupboard because I needed one little teaspoon in one recipe, and I haven't used it since. So, but 57% had never heard of that ingredient before. The same also goes for things like maltodextrin. 74% didn't know maltodextrin. Of course, you guys in the keto world, you know maltodextrin because that's the filler ingredient. It's a sugar made from corn that helps to bulk up like artificial sweeteners. So when you get a little packet of sweetener like Splenda and even some of the stevia and other things, they bulk it up by using maltodextrin, which is ironic. It's a sugar alternative, but you're putting a sugar, maltodextrin is a sugar in this sugar alternative. It was weird. So 74%, 3 out of 4, had no idea what maltodextrin was. 79% did not know what calcium alginate is. So you see all these common ingredients that are used in these processing of plant-based meats. People don't have any idea what they are, which begs the question, if you don't know, why would you put it in your mouth? But again, we're talking about a culture that has relied on processed foods and never really looking at ingredients. One of my favorite things to do now is to go back into grocery stores and go to those foods that I used to eat all the time, flip them over on the back, and look at the ingredients. And it's usually some derivative of grains, wheat, some derivative of sugar, some derivative of like a vegetable oil, and then a whole bunch of chemicals. That's pretty much the common theme I see amongst all of these fake foods. This is concerning, talking about this lack of knowledge of all these ingredients, given that they are all synthetic ingredients that commonly appear in all of these plant-based products. They go on to say there's an apparent disconnect between the consumer understanding of what natural products are and the reality of the synthetic ingredients that are used to make these plant-based products. Methylcellulose is one of the most common thickening agents used to bind ingredients together. So they use it for a reason. It's to hold the burger together so it keeps that shape as a burger. You don't have to worry about that with beef because beef naturally has binding agents in it with the fats and the proteins when they've been ground into ground beef, and you can shape it and mold it. You have to put the methylcellulose into these plant-based burgers to mimic that effect in them. It's frequently used in plant-based products to mimic the texture of meat. That's what the methylcellulose is for. With many consumers admitting to never having heard of methylcellulose, yet choosing plant-based products because of the appearance that makes them look more natural, this shows a very clear need that goes well beyond clean labels for more transparency and education to help consumers recognize and understand ingredients better. It's a problem, you guys. And it's one thing that the marketers of these plant-based burgers don't give two craps about. Like, they just want to sell their widget. And their widget is a fake burger that mimics a real hamburger, trying to fool the consumer into thinking they're having a healthier option than a one-ingredient beef hamburger. Let's give them a 29-ingredient Beyond Meat hamburger. And yet people don't know what's in it. So, in this article, they look at the risks and rewards of the clean label halo. So the use of 100% natural ingredients is central to that company Gosh brand that we talked about earlier and their identity. This means they have no additives and no alternatives. So the representative from Gosh says, "We believe that natural ingredients only are the key to creating tasty, healthy, and nutritious food." Remember, they're the plant-based chicken nugget sausage burger company. Consumers deserve to know and recognize exactly what's going into their food, and we have a responsibility to ensure that those choosing to eat our products are receiving the full, authentic, natural experience. But that's not happening across the board. Across the board, most of these companies, especially the ones that are owned by the big conglomerates, especially the ones that are getting propped up by the millionaires and billionaires that are supporting them, they don't care about what they're putting in there. They just want to sell their widget. And I wonder what we could do to bring it to the attention of the consumer. Hey, look at what they're putting in that. Don't just willy-nilly buy it. Before you buy it, look at the back. And of course, we say that with everything. And most people love to be blissfully ignorant about such things. You know, you start talking to someone who's not into health about, oh my gosh, you know what goes into that, whatever they're eating. And they're like, yeah, I don't care. And that's where they are. Yeah, I don't care. If someone says, well, you know, those plant-based burgers aren't real healthy. If you looked what's in them, oh no, they're healthy. That's all. That's the only reason I'm eating them. They're healthy. And they never do that. And I'll tell you, when I used to eat low fat, they had the Boca burgers. Remember the Boca burgers way back in the day? I used to eat the Boca burgers and I had no idea what was in it. I just saw plant-based, low-fat version of meat and I ate it. Didn't even think about what was in it. And to this day, still, I need to go look if they still sell Boca burgers. Maybe these new alternatives have pushed Boca burgers out of business, but back in the day, the Boca burger, and it was okay. I fooled myself into thinking they were healthy. Don't get me started. So the consumer already believes that plant-based products and natural ingredients go hand in hand. Therefore, this insight reveals a vital need for the plant-based community and beyond to be a lot more transparent and for products to be clearly labeled to educate consumers on exactly what ingredients are included. I'm going to push back on that because I've been a part of the low carb world and then paleo and then keto all along the way, all these food trends, and now carnivore, all these food trends that have been out there. And every single time something becomes popular, what happens to the quality of the ingredients and products that are supposed to serve that community? It goes down. And so while, okay, yeah, you can call for more transparency, you can call for clearer labels to educate consumers about the ingredients that are included, at the end of the day, these companies don't give two rats' asses about any of that. All they care about is, I want to sell more and more and more of this stuff, and whatever it takes. And if that means cutting corners and using cheaper ingredients to make the same product, but make it cheaper so it's more profitable. And that's the other part of this. They are charging a lot of money for what they're putting in this. It's very cheap ingredients, and yet they're still charging just below what it costs for like a real burger. So you can get a real burger for an obligate amount of money, and then they drop the price per pound down by like $1 per pound below what you would buy with meat. They're making a killing profit off of these burgers that aren't even close to being the real McCoy. That's the other thing here. So there's a lot of profit margin, which is probably why the millionaires and billionaires got involved. Is, all right, I'll throw a few $100,000 at this if it'll make me $1 million, right? With the emphasis on nutritional and ethical reasoning for so many plant-based eaters, the lack of transparency and confusion around products currently does not chime with the ethos of the plant-based community. This is somebody who's bought into this guy from this Gosh brand of plant-based foods. God bless him. I mean, he's a marketing guy, so he's obviously bought into the messaging of the plant-based movement, but he's not understanding what's happening here. They don't care what you think. They don't care if you think the ethos of the plant-based community is transparency and being forthright and honest. Nothing about what the plant-based community that I've seen, nothing about it is honest. Every time they make a new documentary, What the Health, Cowspiracy, they do different documentaries every couple of years, and it's the same damn information every single time, where they just kind of repeat the same epidemiological studies. They don't really cite any kind of studies looking at randomized controlled clinical trials because they can't. There isn't any that makes a plant-based diet look good. So they keep using sensationalism and propaganda and making mountains out of molehills of inferior research. That's their modus operandi. And so to think that there's some kind of ethos of the plant-based community, this guy's living in la-la land. By not clearly labeling food, plant-based companies run the risk of potentially alienating consumers in the future. Oh, they won't care. As long as they make their money now, they don't care about alienating people in the future. Let's hit while the iron's hot. And right now, we got a huge health halo when it comes to these plant-based burgers. Let's take advantage of that and let's run with it and make as much money as we possibly can. And that's where they are in the consumer cycle. Nevertheless, while long ingredient lists may be a risk, they also present food formulators with an innovation opportunity. The intersection between the clean label and plant-based label could also prove fertile ground for this message. As the clean label halo is majorly driven by the consumer rather than defined by regulatory authorities, there's this inclination to start producing clean label plant-based substitutes and attract more customers. So they think because the big boys, Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger, are the two big boys, because they're using crap ingredients in their burger products, their plant-based fake meats, because they're doing it all wrong, it's a business opportunity for smaller companies with more innovation about using real ingredients to do it better. I don't know what I think about that, though. What do you guys think? if they do a plant-based burger that uses all natural ingredients as opposed to the chemicals and the more inferior types of ingredients. Like, I'm thinking, what could they put in there that would still be clean ingredients, natural ingredients, that would still honor the taste and texture and everything of it. I mean, none of us are probably going to eat these things anyway. There's no reason to when meat is perfectly fine. But for those people that choose to do this, is it better? I suppose it's marginally better. It's still not better than meat. Eat meat! Unless you've got some moral objection to it. This trend can be seen in new patent filings data with the explicit disclosure of clean label plant-based substitutes, things like non-GMO, or avoiding additional ingredients like hydrocolloids, chemical emulsifiers, and added sugars. Brands might try considering creating more clean label products since this growing consumer trend is there. And they're talking about consumers have that health halo. We need to take advantage of this because they already see us as clean. They already see us as a better alternative and all natural. Now let's go live up to their expectation of what they think we are, rather than continuing down this road of making crap, all under the guise of a healthier option to a beef hamburger. But I'm really anxious to see what you guys have to say about this one, you guys. It's interesting how consumer perception is far different than what the reality is, but that's an opportunity for the plant-based burger people and the people that make it and market it. What happens if some people catch on and see that they're pushing a lot of junk ingredients on them? Will they rebel? I don't know. I honestly don't think they will, because most people are of the mindset, well, it's healthier than the junk food. And it's healthier than red meat because we know that gives you cancer and it kills you, right? So they've done this kind of strategy of vilifying the real McCoy for so long. Now they swoop in with this alternative that still ain't quite right. And yet people are like, well, that's better than the real McCoy because the real McCoy will kill you. That's kind of where we are. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come here first to Instagram, then over to Twitch. Hi, Twitch. Talk to me if you have any questions or comments about this. Then to Facebook, then to YouTube. Thank you all for being here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. Why do vegans keep trying to recreate meat, says Joshua. Joshua, I've been asking myself that question for many years, because if you're truly a vegan, anything that would resemble the killing of animals. Now, I'll tell you, when I started reading about the plant-based burgers, they were like gory in their recreation of trying to create these burgers. Oh yeah, we have beet juice to mimic the blood of the viciousness of killing an animal. And I'm thinking, and you're okay with that? Like, I thought killing an animal created some emotional reaction within you. Wouldn't mimicking killing an animal and having blood run, and even if you know it's beet juice, still, like, it doesn't jive. Although I'll repeat something I said at the beginning, maybe you weren't here yet, Joshua, that these things are not for hardcore vegan vegetarians that have been doing this. These products are a buy-in factor for those people that are curious about vegan, vegetarian, plant-based diets. And so if you can get a meat eater to switch from their meat over to these things, then maybe you'll get a buy-in factor of, oh, wow, this is the real McCoy. Tastes like the real McCoy, so I can do this. And then you kind of hook them into the whole plant-based lifestyle. But you're right. You would think the people that own these companies wouldn't want to have anything to do with having a meat type of product. I guess they felt like, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And the plant-based meats are their attempt at joining them. And I would say not just joining them, they're trying to co-opt meat. Think about that. They have tried to equate what they do to what meat is. And what they do is create a plant-based alternative burger And now they're trying to get people to just call it meat, because psychologically, if you tell people, oh, it's the same as a burger, then you could co-opt what these animal-based foods are. I think that's the big mission all along here. Cariana says, I have a good friend who, in spite of being vegan, is completely appalled by frankenfoods. Some of them do have sense. Yeah, like I said, I think hardcore vegans look at these Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger, and all these other alternatives out there, and they go, why? Why? But maybe some of them embrace it because they know it could be a gateway into their lifestyle. Maybe that's, I mean, it's an interesting dilemma. I guess we have the same dilemma in the keto world when we have like low carb keto cookies, low carb keto cakes, low carb keto pizza. I could go down the line of all these different products that have had a keto version of a crappy garbage food. And our justification for those things is, well, at least it's better than the real McCoy, and it'll get them interested in the lifestyle. And then if nothing is ever followed up on of, you know, you don't really need those things in order to be successful on keto. So we see them as transitions into this lifestyle. Vegans see these plant-based burgers in much the same way. Anita says, I question the article. People couldn't buy a freezer during the pandemic. The meat lockers couldn't keep up and started scheduling out 9 months. The meat counters were empty. Yeah, the meat, regular meat sold out right away. Like it just totally, I remember right after the pandemic began, you couldn't find red meat there for a month. I know I was not able to get steaks for a couple months there. And then it finally came back in, and it's been consistent ever since. But the plant-based burgers were there all along, and I wonder how much of this 21% of people who cut down their meat consumption during the lockdown, I wonder how much of that was forced on them, not a choice that they chose not to eat meat, but that they couldn't find it, so therefore they chose to try these plant-based meats. I don't know. Joshua says, it's marketing on a scale almost beyond comprehension. Marketing, it's manipulation, it's psychological warfare to try to convince people that this is just like meat. And no, it's not just like meat. But they're very crafty at how they word it and convincing people that it is just like meat. Anita says, maybe people bought plant-based meats when real meat wasn't available. Yes, that's what I was just saying. It is possible. That definitely happened. Cariana says, methyl cellulose, that's a laxative. Well, hopefully they don't put a whole lot of it in there, but that's interesting to note. Joshua says, most of the ultra-processed food is basically dog food with a different flavor. Yeah? I mean, I'll give the Beyond Meat company credit. When I cooked up that burger in the pan, when I got beyond the disgust of the raw version of their burger, and I cooked it and it browned and it looks just like a burger, and I took a bite of it, it's got the smoke flavor in it, so they did a good job with making it mimic meat. A very good job of that. But yeah, at the end of the day, it was just processed food that got it there. We also see food that is labeled keto that isn't really keto. I was at Costco, noticed several items listed as keto, but they have grains and sugar. Read the ingredients. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about with the trends, that anytime something has become popular, be it low-carb Atkins when I first started, then paleo, then keto, now carnivore, we're seeing good products come out initially from smaller companies, and then these big companies get involved. They end up in stores like Costco, and it's complete garbage. I did happen, though, to find a keto product in a grocery store yesterday that I looked on the back. I was just not looking forward to what it would show, and it was actually good. It actually had some clean ingredients. So there are good companies out there. You just have to be on the lookout. Look at what the ingredients are and don't just believe when it says keto on the front of the packaging. One of the biggest health tips ever is to read your labels. Yes. I remember back in the day, I would read labels. I would read just nutrition facts. I would just look at the fat grams. That was back in the late 90s when I was doing low-fat diets. And you would read the fat grams, and if it was low, if it was under 2, great. That was my litmus test. Didn't care about carbohydrate, didn't care about calories, didn't care about the ingredients. Now when I read a label, I don't even go to the macros first. I'll take a glance up at the carbohydrate real quick, total carbohydrate. And if it's in the double digits, I'm immediately going down into the ingredients to go, okay, where are all the carbs coming from? And so then I'm reading ingredients, and if I come across any ingredient that alone I would not eat that, vegetable oil is a huge no-no for me. And vegetable oils are in these plant-based burgers, by the way. They got huge amounts of vegetable oils, highly inflammatory. So I don't even eat it if it's got vegetable oils. And that includes so-called healthy low-carb foods like nuts. Like if you ever pick up almonds and then you look at the back of them and you see that they've been roasted in soybean or cottonseed oil, put that bad boy back right away, because it's an inflammatory nightmare. I don't care how many carbs it has. Christy says, my Adventist parents probably have a freezer full of these. Well, yeah, Seventh-day Adventist, yeah, they have a religious reason for eating plant-based. I still think there's better ways to do it than these burgers. Joshua says, oh, that's a different spin. Plant-based meat as a bridge product. I guarantee you that's how they're pitching it in the vegan, vegetarian community. Like I said, much in the same way that we talk about diet soda instead of regular soda, cookies instead of Keebler Elves, keto cookies, keto cakes, and I could go down the keto pizza with a cauliflower crust instead of the wheat crust. So we could go right down the line of all the things that we do in the keto world. So they're probably looking at these plant-based burgers as that gateway, that bridge product to get to a plant-based diet. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let's pop over here now. Doesn't look like anybody's talking to me on Twitch. I see you there, guys. You can talk to me. The chat room is open. I would love to see your comments about this. We go live Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern, so thank you for being here and watching. And be there, be square. Engage in the content. Talk to me. But I'm going to come over here to my guys over, and girls, over on Facebook. Thank you guys for being here. What's up, guys? You need to get on TikTok, says Samantha. I tried TikTok. It is a very short form video format, and that's not my style. I'm very long form oriented because like Jimmy Rants goes an hour. Most of my podcasts go an hour. I tried it for a bit and it was just so hokey. And I'm turning 49 on Sunday. My birthday's 2 days after Christmas. So I know I'm at the age where I'm also not appropriate on that format, but there's a lot of people on TikTok. I don't know, maybe I'll try to get it in the new year, but so far I've not found a way to use it in such a way that would be useful to me, but thank you for the suggestion. Sherry says, I don't understand why anyone would eat fake meat. Well, I mean, if you have heard your whole life that meat's gonna kill you, that it's harmful to you, that you need to get away from meat, and that a plant-based diet is healthy and a better alternative, and da-da-da, and you keep hearing that message over and over and over again, after a while, you're going to get kind of convinced, hey, maybe I need to cut down on my meat. Oh, maybe I need to embrace these fake meats because I still want meat. I just can't have meat. I can't have real meat, so I'll have meat instead. So you can see the allure of how people get fooled into eating this stuff. All the studies are funded by big agriculture. Yeah, and I think the plant-based community, they're very well organized. They're all on the same page. I'm very envious of how unified the plant-based community is. And this is a big problem too, you guys. The reason plant-based burgers and the studies that vilify real meat and glorify like plant-based burgers, the reason they're out there so strongly is all of these people in the vegan world, they are all on the same page when it comes to pushing the message. And when you're all on the same page, it makes it easy to make your message loud and clear. Like I said, I'm envious because in the keto and carnivore world, we don't have that kind of unity that binds us. I'd love to hear that interview. Let us know how we can find that one, please. Which interview? I'm sorry. I'm trying to remember what I said that would... If you'll write it down there, Tanya, I'm not sure. Give me the name of who you're talking about. You could never, ever get me to stop eating meat ever again. Well, they're trying. That is definitely the goal of a lot of these plant-based, quote, meat companies, is to try to make all of us plant-based and not meat eaters anymore. They've even stated that that's their modus operandi, that they want to make that happen. I don't know how they're going to do it because some of us will refuse to ever eat anything but meat. And those of us that are carnivore, they really hate us carnivore people because meat is all we eat and nothing else. Clean to me means it had a face on it, came straight, or it came straight out of the ground. Yeah, no processing at all. That's for sure. Berkeley says Weight Watchers mentality, they can have their cake and eat it too. They assume they don't want to research for themselves. Yeah, that's the mentality of why people look for things that are the forbidden, which in the vegan vegetarian world, it's meat. In the keto world, it's anything sugary, starchy, grainy. Lean pockets and snack wells don't make me relive my days of ignorance. Yes, we were all ignorant at one point, so embrace it, my dear, embrace it. I ate a ton of snack wells. Yeah, I did too. And I'm not going to lie, Berkeley, I used to eat one, eat another, and I liked the ones that were the snack wells that was like the chocolate cake, and then it had like a marshmallow layer, and then it was covered with a layer of chocolate on top of that. And I would sit there and eat the whole package. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Too many dietitians think vegan is healthier. Oh, don't get me started on dietitians, because you're right. That's where a lot of this mindset of eating plant-based and lowering your meat consumption, the whole stupid idea of meatless Mondays and all this kind of nonsense. We have been propagandized and psychologically manipulated, I guess is the term, into believing that somehow our desire to eat meat isn't normal, and therefore we need to be corrected. I think eating meat is one of the most primal things you could possibly do, is eat meat. So it's so weird. I do remember eating the veggie burgers when they came out in the 90s because I thought they were healthier. I trusted the marketing. Yeah, I did the Boca burgers in the 90s. And in the late 90s when I did a low-fat diet and was quite successful at losing weight on the low-fat diet, but I was starving all the time and irritable and yada yada. But the Boca burgers, I lived on those things. And I would treat myself if I had 2 Boca burgers. I would make one, but then if I had 2, that was a treat. I know, it was horrible. If everyone ate either keto or carnivore or vegan, the processed food people would go out of business. Yeah, I agree with you, Berkeley. I think we have a lot more in common with the vegans. And the commonality is we all believe in real whole foods. Now, we define real whole foods in the through the prism of having red meat as a part of that. They define real whole foods as anything that's plants, but not meat. So it's a nuanced difference. They can have all my plants. I can have all their meat, and we're all happy. And you're right. The processed food companies would go out of business if we embrace this. Yes, the low-carb keto crap is so abundant. It's one of the first things I teach my clients is to stay away from anything packaged for the most part until I can really educate them. Some that I coach are just not healthy enough to ever go near that stuff anytime soon. It's all about the person really, but all should beware the packaged foods, middle of the aisle. Yeah, first thing I do when I go into a grocery store is a hard right. And I go right into, it's usually either the deli or the vegetable section. The meat section's most of the time kind of on the right-hand side. It depends on your grocery store, I guess. But the different ones I've been in, I just go a hard right as soon as I walk in to get right to the area of the store. And I just go right around the edge all the way around. And the only thing I go to the middle for is when I need like specific ingredients. So if I want to get like some stevia, I'll go to the middle aisles. Coconut oil, pork rinds, there's different things that are in the center aisles that you can go for. The guest is the one, you and the vegan guy who was trying to diss burgers as process. You diss burgers as process. Oh, no. It wasn't a podcast. It was on my Instagram page today. This guy came on when I was promoting this Jimmy Rants here that I was going to be going live with this topic. He started arguing with me. So if you go to the Livin' Low Carb Man Instagram page, you will see the back and forth. I took screenshots. He kept going and I finally just cut him off and started deleting his comments. And then he got upset at me because I deleted it. But he called Sean Baker, he called me and different ones a clown for believing meat could somehow be healthy. Yeah. See, that's why I was getting confused. I'm like, what podcast are you talking about? It was a comment on the Livin' Low Carb Man Instagram page. So go check that out. All right. Thank you, Facebook. Let me pop over here now to my YouTube channel. Shirley says, yum. The ingredients in those science projects sound delightful. I'll take my one ingredient meat. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're not alone there. That's for sure. September says, our meat and eggs seem to be getting sparse again. Oh, in your local store, your meat and eggs department is sparse. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I hope it doesn't stay that way. Bunny says, thanks, or think of the people with very short attention spans. So what do very short attention span? So what's the context of that comment? I'm not getting what you're saying. Mario, or is it Marie? The only place you can purchase these products in my local grocery store is in the freezer section. Nobody could buy them fresh. Yeah, I've seen them in both sections in like Walmart and my local grocery store. But you're right. Most of the time they're in the freezer section. And here's the thing. Unlike beef, which has a certain amount of time that you can freeze it, these plant-based, quote, burgers, they can last a very, very long time in the freezer. So you're right. Although once you defrost them and then smell them, ugh, guys, just for an experiment, sometime you should buy one of these plant-based burgers just to see what I'm talking about. That smell is the most putrid thing I've ever smelled in my life. And it does cook up in a pan. I remember on the Jimmy Rants, I took one bite and I was chewing it, trying to absorb everything about it. And I was like, okay, it's pretty good. Like for what it is, it was pretty good. And then I went to take another bite just out of instinct of eating something. And somebody on the camera went, don't take another bite. Oh yeah. I didn't even have like a chicken to throw this crap to. Oh, TikTok is what you were talking about. TikTok's for people with very short attention spans. Yes. Good old TikTok. No, I have enough work to do. I don't need to add TikTok to my list of duties. Joshua says, I think the more disconnected people get from the farm and the realities of life, the easier we can be manipulated. You're right there. I think that's spot on as a comment, that people, they don't know where food comes from. And so when you lose the context of where food comes from, it makes sense that plant-based burgers would become a thing. Because if you knew food came from, like beef came from a cow, and you could see that cow before it got processed, and then you saw the processing, and then you saw the aftermath of the processing, and you cooked it and you ate it, and you knew that cow, it would be a totally different story than what we have today. One thing I'm super, super grateful for this year is the local meat and egg connections that my family has made. We've had lots of meat and eggs all along the way. Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I get backyard chicken eggs, although they're molting right now, so I've greatly reduced the number of eggs I'm used to getting from them. But yeah, from a meat perspective, there's lots of even online companies who have popped up, along with some long-time ones that have been out there that are filling the void of the empty shelf. So no need to feel like you can't have the things that you know you need for your family. But yeah, plant-based burgers, guys. People have this perception that they're healthy and that they're good for them, and that they're natural and made with good ingredients, and they just don't know. I'm going to keep screaming it from the mountaintops here on Jimmy Rants and elsewhere that look at what you're eating. Look at the ingredients. Pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth, because it all matters. That's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Go follow me right here. I am over at Jimmy Rants over on Instagram. If you haven't joined Instagram, go join Instagram. If for no other reason, just to follow Jimmy Rants. We go Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So thank you guys for being here today. We also simulcast on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you all for being here today. If you missed the live, you can watch it on replay right here on Instagram at the Jimmy Rants page on IGTV. It goes right up there just as soon as this is over. We also throw the past episodes up over on YouTube. Type in a keyword Jimmy Rants, you will find the show. Finally, check out the official website for this show. It's JimmyRants.com. That's where you can see all the past episodes. So guys, tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and I have a very special edition of Jimmy Rants for you guys tomorrow. We will still be on at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we will have an Ask Me Anything. So I usually do Ask Me Anything on Fridays, but because Friday is Christmas, we're going to bump it up to tomorrow. So let's have a good time tomorrow. Come on, enjoy yourself, and let's make a good last show of the week. Tomorrow, we'll see you on Jimmy Rants then. Bye.